Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have what's going to be a special one here today, as it's not just going to be a single match. We've got another one of these best of threes. And so a matchup I'm very excited for. It's going to be Changeling taking on BenBotBC. The BC, of course, standing for Battle Cruiser. And so, yes, these two are frequently featured bots on the channel. However, it's always going to be a little bit different when you have a bot like Changeling, as while it is built off of Eris, I believe there definitely is some tweaks in there. But for our first matchup in this random versus Terran best of 3, it is going to be a ZVT. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, click that like button if you haven't already. If we can get 3 likes for a best of 3, that would be amazing. If we get, I don't know, 69 likes, maybe we'll do another best of 69. For those of you that don't know, I genuinely casted one of those many years ago. It was a TVZ best of 69 between Elaser and Spirit, and that was something. That was a lot of casting. Yes, but if you guys haven't already, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're doing for Halloween, or better yet, let me know whether you have any questions you want to ask bot authors, because I am planning on doing some interviews with bot authors in the future. If you're a bot author, you can feel free to shoot me a message and put your hand up too. But that is something that I do want to do in the future, but it takes a little bit more time. The beauty of these bot videos is that just StarCraft 2 bot matches are incredibly enjoyable, and with my thumbnails, it's not too much work to put those up on YouTube while also managing school. But yeah. And then as Changeling, all right, start the counter. That's one. Start the counter for the amount of times I call Changeling Eris. Takes its third base. I'll just say subscribe if you haven't already. A bit of a jumbled intro, but that's the par for the course on this channel. You can't be too predictable, I guess. And that's why I just sometimes scream randomly. I joke, of course. Although maybe I'll have to do that in one of the videos for, like, I don't know, April Fools or something. I really don't know how I'll top last year's April Fools video. And we'll see. I got some time to come up with ideas. So, you're probably saying, shut up, LaughNgamez, talk about the bots. Unfortunately, I have fallen into that old caster routine of where you don't necessarily give too much information in the early game because it's fairly consistent, and when you know the competitors, more so. So I am going to give a bit of a description of these two bots, BenBot and Changeling, as I just pull up AIarena.net there, where you can see all of these bots' descriptions. BenBot, programmed by Blasier, a Terran bot written in Java, created 27th of December 2019, last updated the 28th of October 2025, so very recently. And yes, BenBot is a very active bot when it comes to getting development. The description, it has some of its probots results. It does have a 2nd place under its belt, and a 3rd place as well, which is very cool. The bot's main focus is to build a lot of battle cruisers. Who'd have thought? Everything is created from scratch using Java and its OCraft SC2 interface. It saves game results and uses this info to decide which build order it uses. That is a common theme amongst bots. That's why you'll see BenBot go for a proxy racks and proxy bunker against some bots, but not against others. And yes, so there is no description for Changeling. However, it is programmed by Team Eris, a random Python bot made with Ares SC2, which I believe is a framework that you can base your own bots off of. And yes, as this game has been progressing, our first match, Best of 5, or best of 3, pardon me, between these two bots could really have a lot of swing, because BenBot is a bot that usually turtles hard, and Changeling can, well, it can change it up based on what race it rolls. For now, though, it is just playing a passive Zerg style, but Zergs are generally okay with that, because if you have a license to drone, you can max out incredibly quick. Changeling makes phenomenal use of the speed mining, and then just the larva mechanic for Zerg. It seems to work very well when uninterrupted and just building up that economy. We do have Lings now starting to burrow at the bases of BenBot. This is to prevent further expansion. It's something that we definitely take for granted as far as how these bots can solve problems like this fairly consistently now. It seems that not even that long ago, the Ling blocking was much more of a problem, but the top bots can deal with these quite consistently. And yeah, that's just very impressive. But if you think about it from a problem-solving perspective, if you go to program your bot, you have to manually program in how to deal with a Ling that's blocking your bot's base. You have to have redundancy or something to preempt it. Now, the first battle cruiser of BenBot does jump into the forest and then begins attacking Changeling. It finds itself a drone, gets a second one too. Now it's targeting a queen, and it won't get the queen saved by clutch transfuses from her sisters. However, it does end up going down. BenBot, meanwhile, drops a scan enemy base, which is definitely interesting. We've got a few Hellions for BenBot as well, moving on the map in groups of 3, utilizing Blue Flame as well. The Hellions take some damage, then they retreat on out of there to stay alive, so that's good efficiency. They can go back home, get repaired on up. Changeling now has got its battle cruiser response in full swing, getting up a Spire. Spore Crawler's Infestation Pit. The Yamato Cannon does kill that Spire, or that Spore Crawler, pardon me. The Spire would have been a big deal, but the Spores are still quite a large deal in Starcraft 2. They are not cheap, 125 minerals, and also the larva to create the drone. So it's definitely expensive. Now, this battle cruiser will be pushed away as Changeling has a phenomenal amount of queens inside that main base. The Yamato cannons can go down, and one of the queens does get deleted. However, these BCs are a very big commitment from the Terran. It definitely slows down BenBot's economy building these battle cruisers. When you look at it, a battle cruiser costs more than a command center, more than a planetary fortress, ladies and gentlemen. So they really do have pressure on them to get damage done. Contaminate used by Changeling to actually delay the production of more Hellions and tanks. That could be a big deal, shutting down the Terran's limited production. Another queen does get picked off by a battle cruiser, as there's no corruptors to shut them down yet. Changeling, though, is building corruptors now. It was able to get the Spire up without any hurdles, thankfully, building that at the safe third base. The 2 battle cruisers do go back on in, though, and they have already got a pretty significant amount of damage done. 2 more Yamato cannons means 2 more dead queens. The battle cruiser takes some damage and teleports out. The one on cooldown just sort of hides in the corner. But look at this unit's loss tab. 14 dead drones, a Spore Crawler, 7 queens. We are on the latest patch, ladies and gentlemen, so queens are 175 minerals, so that's even more expensive than those losses used to be. At the same time, BenBot is just securing up its third base. It's got the workers to saturate it, and then some, but it just goes to show that while it looks like BenBot's getting all this great damage done, it's like, is it worth it? Because Eris is securing up its 6th base. The 6th base getting harassed by some Hellions. The Hellions not really respecting the Roaches. Lings can definitely be dealt with, but now we see the battle cruisers are still making a play for the main base of Changeling, as that, yeah, they haven't been shut down by the Infestors or the Corruptors yet. Only 5 Hellions dead on BenBot's side of the map. Now, this could be a little risky, but BenBot has some very good programming when it comes to the BCs. They sit in the corner and hide until they're off tactical jump cooldown, then they go for some more damage, but that basically sets them up to be able to escape, and this could mean life or death for this battle cruiser here. It's quite a high corruptor count, though, 9 sitting here, and they pack quite a punch against BCs. The battle cruisers do have +1 armor, but there's +1 attack for the corruptors, so we'll see when this guy makes its move whether it will escape or not. BenBot's starting to go for some of its classic chat spam. Creep is spreading all over the place for Eris, definitely causing problems for the Terran, which will eventually need to secure up a 4th base. And as I say that, a planetary is morphing on location. That battlecruiser popped back out and then just teleported home. Hellions are consistently scouting for BenBot. I do like the Hellions. They've seemed to have some good harassment behavior programmed into them, consistently scouting out. Now, as far as the production goes, BenBot doesn't have that much. If we take a look at the production structures, BenBot has 2 starports and a single factory. That is not a lot of units that can be produced. And look at this, Changeling is coming on in to crack this 4th base. BenBot was not set up to defend that. It was just getting situated to defend this position. As Changeling comes on in and crushes that spot, a battle cruiser gets neural parasited by Changeling and killed, and all of a sudden the blue Terran takes a big loss. The loss of that 4th base is an astronomical amount of damage and really will slow down BenBot's production. Changeling does commit a lot of units trying to target down the siege tank, which is a really nice touch, and it actually gets it despite the great SCV repair from BenBot. The concern for the Terran is, though, that the Zerg will be back at it again, as Changeling has 91 drone production. Gosh, what is 8 hatcheries, I want to say? And then just has the ability to remax in just a matter of like a minute for getting back up to 200 supply. As soon as units die, Changeling is immediately rebuilding them. That is something that these bots are very good at. If there's room to build something, they'll do it in the middle of a fight. They don't get distracted with macro or micro like humans do. Yamato Cannon does just about saves a battle cruiser with a scan as the BC tries to save its friend but is unsuccessful. So far, 2 of those have perished. Every battle cruiser is important for BenBot, but as we can see, it can't exactly afford to be producing a boatload of these based off its just 3 base economy while it's trying to get upgrades too. The upgrades are expensive, having to build a 4th base. A really nice neural parasite goes down. BenBot is harassing a little bit with some Hellions. We'll see if this can take the heat off if Eris turns to the defense. Nice neural parasite does grab one of Changeling's battle cruisers once more. It's now being pulled into corruptors. There's actually not enough neural to secure the kill on that, as the corruptors are like, uh-oh, we did not have enough friends here to deal with that. So the BC will escape. The Viking usage of BenBot is very nice to shut down these Broodlords and keep the Corruptors at bay, but the Hydras on the ground remain a threat. There's no tanks here to help deal with this. It's just a planetary. There goes a scan for BenBot. I'm not sure what that's aiming to accomplish. Marines with really no upgrades trying to save the day. They're not the worst against unupgraded Hydras. However, a lot of SCVs are being committed in order to try and save this base. The base does fall, though, and I think that's going to be the end of the road for BenBot in game number 1. We saw just how a few things went wrong for the Blue Terran, losing a couple battle cruisers here and there, but really losing that 4th base was the nail in the coffin. It really brought down BenBot's income. We saw that base, it was pretty well saturated when Changeling rolled up on it. And yeah, so losing that really slowed it down and started just a snowball against the Blue Terran. BenBot's trying to re-secure this location, but I think it's a little too late. 44 SCVs does not beat 91 drones of production. Now, battle cruisers will try and make a play, but Changeling shows it has no issues dealing with those, so we'll go ahead and load into our next game as Changeling takes it. This definitely is the toughest matchup for BenBot against Changeling, as the Zerg component is incredibly strong. So we'll just see what races are rolled for the next random replays that I generated. A very slow death for BenBot, but a death nonetheless. A little bit of lag as I fast forward. The Starcraft 2 engine performs very admirably under these bot conditions, as when they programmed it, I imagine there wasn't much of a thought about how much APM can we crank into a game. But yeah, it does incredibly well, actually. So Blizzard really did great work when programming StarCraft 2. Okay, so here we are into game number 2 between BenBot and Changeling. And man, oh man, BenBot really does have the worst luck as it rolls Changeling's Zerg again, which is arguably its toughest match. I promise, left hand to God, that that this was just random selection. I know that there has been some unfortunate rolls in bot matchups in the past. And yeah, it is a challenge for BenBot to overcome Changeling's Zerg, but there's always a chance that it may be able to pull something out. And we do notably have BenBot saying tag Bunker Rush, even though it's up against a random Zerg. So I'm curious if we'll actually get that or not. My joke, left hand to God, by the way, was because right hand is my mouse hand. So I can't stop observing. But yes, BenBot will have to see if something else can happen in this game to potentially allow it to maybe win out in the late game. It was so close to getting up that 4th base, and that really is a pivotal moment in the matchup when it comes to these two bots. Like, BenBot gets the 4th up, I think its win rate drastically increases. If it gets a 5th up, I think its win rate is looking pretty good. Or definitely a lot better. Just uncontested Zerg macro is really a threat in these bot matches. As we saw in that previous match. BenBot does not go for a bunker rush, so that chat tag is a little bit misleading. I wonder if it'll like scout and still go for a bunker rush, or who knows, maybe it's just a generic tag that is printed before it really cues into the fact that it's up against random. And that is something you have to decide as a bot author. How are you going to approach the random problem? Changeling has got its 3rd base on the way already. Very, very quick 3rd for the Zerg. And then it will just begin pumping out these drones. I imagine BenBot will probably just go for a similar strategy, so the map layout can really have big impact on how these games go. Based on how... It's really difficult to say, because based on how sort of strawn out these bases are here on Maganatha, it's like this could be good for BenBot. It's a long way for Changeling to go before it does attack with that high supply. For now, though, we're actually getting double spines from Changeling. What is spooking this Zerg? I really don't know. This is strange. The Overlord got shot a little bit, and it saw the racks lift off, so I wonder what the deal with that is, as Changeling, yeah, just goes hard into early game defense, starts building a bunch of slow lings. Something tripped here for the Zerg, whether it was the fact that maybe it couldn't scout with the Overlord, so it's just playing it safe or what, but I don't think Changeling really ever plays that safe. Yeah, quite strange. We can actually see how quickly Eris cycles through all its stuff, how quickly Changeling cycles through all its stuff. It's a meme at this point, my inability to distinguish the two. But I try. I'm legitimately trying my best here. Okay, so now we've got mules dropping for BenBot. That natural base is mining, mostly on gas, though, to allow these expensive tech units for the Terran. As the starport's on the way, we do have a tank for BenBot. Is Changeling just going to go for some weird, like, slow ling roach flood? That's kind of what this looks like. BenBot's got a very, very good defensive position, though. And yeah, Changeling just seems to have some sort of weird switch in its mind that it's like, I must defend. We're in danger. Danger, danger, danger. Which goes to show that programming is very difficult. I would be curious to ask the author of Changeling as to why this is happening in this game. Maybe it's just a build that Changeling does, as it is a bit more chaotic than its main race counterpart like Eris. The double spines, though, makes me be like, this isn't a rush. This is a defensive action that for some reason Changeling is getting stuck in. And we have seen that occasionally with Changeling where it will just sort of break and not transition in certain situations. I think this really has hurt the Zerg though, because if you make this many units, you either better be defending something serious or you better be getting aggressive, neither of which is the case right now. Changeling is going for lots of drones, but BenBot's already got this battle cruiser on the way. Not just one starport done as well, a second one's on the way too. Double starport BC is an incredibly powerful play from the Terran. Now BenBot's not maybe getting that out as quick as it could as it goes for another Hellion. A second BC getting started would be really, really nice for the Terran. It's got the money, so where is it? Show me another battle cruiser. There is a supply block going on. Eventually it gets started up. And that's interesting from BenBot, that we maybe got a little glimpse into how it's programmed. Maybe that was just timing by chance. BenBot didn't start up that BC till it had the supply. So you see the kind of order that the bot author programmed that in. And that was that. They were like, check for supply before queuing up a unit. Don't just queue it up, which I'm not sure. That's probably one of the first things you do when programming is just say, hey, make sure I actually got the money to build this. But we saw it in action there. Now, this battle cruiser does teleport across the map. Changeling is going to have to defend with way less queens than it had in the previous game. It's only got 2 queens to defend against a battle cruiser, and while that's bad, it's going to get worse as a second BC will be getting yeeted in here soon. Changeling is not responding to this either, really. It's just building more queens. No Spore Crawler yet, as many drones are going down. There is Burrow, but the drones are not burrowing to save their lives. They burrow a little bit late compared to the damage rate of a battle cruiser. We see the drones about to burrow right before they die, but then they still get blasted because it takes a second for them to get into the ground there. A second battle cruiser rolls on up for BenBot. Yamato Cannon kills an Overseer. There's still no anti-air here for Changeling. The Roachhorn will die, which is okay. It's not like Changeling needs roaches in this situation. It needs anti-air, but there just seems to be no response from Changeling, and BenBot is going to kind of get a free game, I think, in this series. Changeling could have done the exact same thing it did in the previous match, and I think it would have gone all right, but something really spooked it, and I have genuinely no idea why. I don't have much of a doubt that BenBot's going to win this game at this point. Zerg doesn't really come back from this position. I mean, BenBot does sometimes give games away that are longer, but like Changeling's not really waking up, right? There's no Hydra Den, no Spire on the way. It's just building queens. If there was spores, it'd be like, maybe, but no, we got a sleepy Zerg bot here. And I think the thing to take away from this best of 3 so far is that, well, the thing to take away from all of these bot games is that it's a challenge to program a bot that performs consistently every game. And we really have to take for granted the games that are really just flawless for the most part. This is definitely painful for Changeling because it is a bot that performs for the most part flawlessly a lot of the time. Like that previous game, no complaints really. Whereas this one, it's like something went wrong, and all of a sudden it wakes up again. Look at this. We get spores on the way, we get a Hydra Den on the way, and more queens being built. So I don't know what prompts Changeling to just suddenly wake up in this situation. We've seen this a few times, and it is something that might be worth looking into for the bot author, because this does happen consistently where Changeling seems to get stuck in some sort of defensive gear and then doesn't leave it soon enough. We're now getting Hydras built by the Zerg. However, it's 33 drones to, well, the drone count's plummeting incredibly quickly as this battle cruiser has free reign. So even though Changeling is getting out some Hydras now, I don't have a lot of hope. This hatchery is actually getting killed by slow Hellion fire, and that is a feat if the Hellions are actually able to kill the hatchery. Will Changeling try and defend that, or will it defend against the battle cruisers? The Roaches weren't defending that base because it wasn't finished yet, so it wasn't actually going to commit. The base finishes. Roaches do come in, but they're not going to save it. BenBot kills it, immediately drops a scan, which is interesting. And Yeah, I wonder why that was that BenBot dropped that scan. Was that because, like, it saw creep or something, and it was like, there must... I don't know. There must be a tumor here? Maybe? Is that something BenBot operates on? I don't know if in the API you can tell whether a tile has creep on it or not. I imagine you probably can, because I can't think of a reason why that scan would happen anyway, but that would kind of make sense if BenBot's like, hey, there's a tumor here, but in reality it was just a hatchery that no longer existed. Who knows? A very slow death for Changeling in this one. It just goes to show the fact that it is producing Hydras and kind of trying to come back, that Changeling is a very good bot. Just definitely a bit of a quirk at the start of the game, and we'll see if that can be avoided in the next one. We'll go ahead and fast forward now. This is definitely not the game I expected for game number 2 after watching game number 1. That will be it, though. GG. All right, here we are in our third match of the day, and it's going to be a little bit of a change of gears as we get Changeling rolling Protoss, letting us know it's going to be building a Phoenix Economic. Now, that's a little bit concerning for the Protoss, as it's an early lesson you learn in Starcraft 2 that Phoenix are garbage against battle cruisers. But there's a lot of a window for them to get stuff done before those battle cruisers are built, and now we do have an SCV scout from BenBot, which it of course has to do as it's up against a random. So then it will be able to decide what build it's going for. I do like how BenBot puts its tags into the all chat, which I believe you have to do if you want your tags to show up on AI Arena. Random Protoss, Bop, BMD, whatever that means for BenBot. Changeling is also going out for a scout. And yeah, it's nice to see Changeling rolling Protoss, because I, for one, miss Deimos quite a bit. That was one of the top Protoss bots. However, the author decided to take it off the ladder because they have so many good bots on the top of the ladder, and they didn't feel like occupying, like, oh gosh, it would be like, how many slots? 4, 5. It would be like 6 out of 10 slots they occupied, which would remove some of the fun and incentive for the other bot authors. And yes, we have got BenBot scouting around with this SCV still. Same goes for Changeling. Interestingly enough, we get a Rax already lifting off for BenBot, which makes me assume there's going to be a quick factory behind this. That is really, really strange, though, how it's already just floating away from this. It's like, I've done my job. Now float over here and go back home to the main base and build some Marines. There is actually a bunker being attempted by BenBot. Changeling pulls probes to try and shut it down. The bunker finishes. SCV begins repairing, but it turns out one SCV cannot out-repair the zappage of a ton of probes. And so that is a really nice shutdown by Changeling on that. BenBot, though, is still trying to get aggressive. It starts building Marauders. It built another tech lab. Okay, this is definitely a little bit of a bug that BenBot, like, floated the racks off, built another tech lab, and then is now building concussive shell Marauders as it's trying to get really aggressive, which I'm totally here for in the TVP matchup. I think Terrans have some very strong cheeses, and they arguably should embrace that as much as possible. It's not like Terrans don't embrace cheeses, just it's something that might be better than playing in the late game against Protoss. Now, we do have BenBot trying to get another SCV across the map to build a bunker. Stalker versus Marauder battle. Who wins if that Stalker made use of the bushes? And it kind of does. It would win. It's like one shot away for each of these units, and the Stalker loses. That's incredibly painful for Changeling, because if that had retreated, it would have been able to get healed on up. Now, BenBot has got 2 more Marauders coming on up. 1 Marauder's dead. The Stalker will have to fight another one, though. A probe is coming on out. That's actually going to tank some shots, which is a big deal. And the SCV gets killed. Will Changeling make it to the top of the ramp with the Stalker, or is it dead? The Stalker retargets onto the Marine, which might not be ideal. It takes the Marine out with it. Meanwhile, the Stalker can clean up this Marauder, as both of these bots are just producing as much stuff as possible. BenBot has got more production, though, with 2 Marauders being produced at a time. Changeling just working off of 1 gateway, although Warp Gate is done, which does up the rate of that actual production. Now 2 Stalkers are pushing BenBot away. The Marauder gets picked off, and BenBot may need to abandon this rush. Behind this, there is a command center building for the Blue Terran. We've got Changeling happily saturating up its Nexus, though, and with an Immortal building, I think things should be pretty secure for the Red Protoss. Changeling is going to try and get aggressive on the other side of the map. This shall not work out, though, I don't think, as there's plenty of Marauders waiting up that ramp. Eventually, BenBot does actually build this factory on that tech lab location, which is kind of what I assumed it was for in the first place, but that was an inefficiency in the rush. Say if that Brax had just stayed put, it probably missed like a good chunk of a Marauder production cycle, which might have been enough to start a snowball against Changeling. Now, Changeling is going to try and get aggressive once more. A scouting SCV does get identified by BenBot. BenBot's got the bunker. It's got 4 Marauders, and they actually have stim, so they just delete the Stalkers super quickly. The Immortal is now going to want to turn around. Immortals are great against Marauders, but they are not that good. The leash range of BenBot is a little high, though, and it actually lets the Immortal escape. That is, such a lucky break for Changeling. However, it's going to take that break and throw it in the garbage as the Immortal and Stalker try to go back up. It is aware that there's units there, though, so it doesn't commit. There's the Observer to provide high ground vision. This Immortal should really nope on out of there. It's going to get tagged and killed, as Changeling's army supply is in the dumps right now compared to what it's produced. BenBot randomly sends out 2 Marauders across the map. There's the rest of them in tow. They're incredibly injured. So I think Changeling may be able to get some easy pickings here. While the Marauders do have stim in small numbers, that's not the most effective upgrade. Stalkers are going to town to clean up these Marauders, so now BenBot has got to retreat. This just goes to show it's very difficult to program into your bot when it's a good time to attack, when it's a good time to defend. And yes, Changeling will test its luck once again, moving up this ramp. It eats a tank shot, though, and I'm not sure it will be able to commit on into that. So as long as BenBot stays here, it's secure. The downside, though, is that it's just starting up its 3rd base. Meanwhile, Changeling is saturated at 59 probes already, just hitting that 60 mark. Chrono Boost going down to get more of these workers out. And then there's, of course, phenomenal production for the Protoss off the back of those 3 saturated bases. BenBot is producing a Hellion, getting out a Medivac as it plays more of a bio style against Protoss. But that's something which might not be its strongest suit. So we'll see how it's going to do here, as Changeling thought about going up this ramp at the cost of 2 Stalkers in order to pick off what I think was about 3 Marauders there. Now it's going to get a 4th. However, somehow that Marauder does at least take a Stalker with it. The concern, though, is Changeling is firing up 3 more gateways, so it will be able to make good use of these 3 saturated bases. BenBot might have a difficult time getting up its own 3rd base, unless it decides to float it north and mine out this gold mineral wall here on torches, which it might actually be doing. No, it's going left, unfortunately. So this, I think, will definitely hurt BenBot. The Terran is getting +1 armor, interestingly enough, for its bio units. Attack is the convention. Now, we've got a Medivac on the way, more Marauders being produced. Marauders aren't bad against Protoss, and we'll just have to wait and see whether BenBot can somehow get a very good fight. Changeling is going to try and crack this ramp. There's SCVs repairing the bunker. One of the tanks got picked off. It's quite costly for the Protoss to make that attack forward. BenBot, though, don't give away these Marauders. Get them healed up by the Medivac and just chill. Defender's advantage is what BenBot really has going for it in this game. SCVs, though, are now trying to transfer to that third base. No check to make sure it's safe to do so before they move out like that. They actually make it by. Changeling is not aware of this extra base yet, so that's actually very good for BenBot that those SCVs were not followed, as Changeling just keeps the pressure on. BenBot, though, sending SCVs to their death again and again. This is something that I think would be a big improvement for BenBot if it did have some sort of check to see if its workers were safe to transfer before doing so, as it is a bot that sometimes gets hurt economically by just having its worker transfers intercepted. Now, BenBot does at least have that base landed. It's turning it into a planetary, so it will be secure. It's building a new command center. We do see SCVs trying to make the long run over to this base, though, and it's just costing BenBot so much. I'm not sure where that one's going, towards the north. But for now, BenBot just building more Marauders. It's got a pretty solid tank count. Just tanks and Marauders en masse. This is no joke of a Terran army. Just my concern is if this game goes on for another few minutes, that BenBot will just be totally outnumbered by Changeling as it fires up 2 more robos. It's getting up a gold 5th base as BenBot struggles to saturate up its 3rd. Marauders do take quite a nice engagement, though, getting the jump on Changeling, forcing Changeling into some of the tanks. But again, it's just Marauders against Stalkers and Immortals, and the Immortals just absolutely destroy the Marauders. The Stalkers themselves are not half bad with that Blink Micro, and now BenBot is in a world of trouble. It took a fight. It was not good enough. Looks like some Marines will shut down the Stalkers that are getting behind its base. However, more SCVs do have to repair this tank. The bunker will need to be repaired. The mines are a little bit far back, I think. And the pressure continues as Changeling is just assaulting BenBot. And now we're getting the reverse as SCVs are sent to their death just going between bases. They must have been getting pulled to repair something. But I think this has got to be one of the bigger areas that BenBot could maybe use some tweaks. It's not an easy thing to do. However, we have seen other bots have some very smart pathing when it comes to getting workers where they need to go in a safe way. Yes. Now we have got BenBot just in a world of trouble. It's still technically on 3 bases, so it's not out of this game just yet. Changeling is maintaining this contain. It's now coming up the ramp into 2 tanks, into the bunker. The bunker stays alive. The tanks stay alive. BenBot's holding on. It is the Turtle Terran after all. Now, Changeling trying to move up that ramp once more into 2 tanks, into the bunker, and the Widow Mines haven't even had a chance to fire yet. Behind this, though, things are not getting any better for BenBot. Well, I mean, I guess they kind of are. It lands a 4th base, but it's going to have a hell of a time saturating it as it sends more workers to their death. 50 dead workers in this game. That is a tremendous amount of resources. 2,500 minerals in dead SCVs just transferring back and forth between the bases. If BenBot hadn't been doing that, who knows how much supply it would have, but instead it's just building more and more workers, sending them to their deaths, and that really hurts the soul. And now Changeling is teching towards the finisher here. It totally lied. It said Phoenix, and now it's not built a single Phoenix this game. It's going for the much better air unit, though, the Tempest, which is able to just besiege positions. And while the logic of Changeling has really suffered in the face of these siege tanks, it's successfully contained BenBot and is now getting to that finisher unit. BenBot's trying to break on out. It's really given it its all, but again, there's just not enough supply. This planetary here does get found. Changeling should be able to stay out of the range of that, but it might actually try and crack this PF. Constant skirmishes in this match, but there's the Tempest, and I think that will be the beginning of the end. Very cool dynamic, the TVP between these two bots. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see more Changeling, if you want to see more BenBot, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We see the power of air units against pretty much tank marauder composition. It doesn't work out that well. And yeah, well done by Changeling. Well done by BenBot too. If you guys want to become a bot yourself, consider becoming a YouTube member. There's the join button down below. And yeah, just big thanks to everyone who does support the channel. Again, if you enjoy these best of threes, let me know in the comments, as they do take a bit more time. And like, if you guys would just prefer like me casting 3 random bot matches, let me know. Widowmine does eventually fire. They could have definitely been a little bit further forward though, I think. But yeah, well done by Changeling. Where did it all go wrong for BenBot? I guess just in the engagements. I mean, the non-optimized rush hurt it a little bit. The transfer between the base was just a ridiculous amount of self-inflicted damage, arguably. As we have seen 115 SCVs die this match. Apologies, there's my alarm to remind me of something. I can't remember what it was, though, which is why I have the alarm. Which, yeah, maybe that alarm was just set to time out perfectly for the end of the match. It is nice to see Changeling rolling the Protoss. Rolling as Protoss, I guess. That's a more fitting term for this match. As we get the classic BenBot chat spam. GG.